The WNBA just collided with its worst nightmare. The news that no one wanted to hear but everyone feared finally landed like a hammer blow. Caitlin Clark, the league's brightest star, the golden ticket that was supposed to carry women's basketball into the mainstream, has ended her season. 13 games. That's all fans got. 13 games, followed by months of vague updates, whispers about recovery timelines, false hope fed to desperate fans, and now a final announcement that detonated like a bomb across the basketball world. Caitlin Clark will not be returning for the rest of the 2025 season, and the ripple effects aren't just devastating, they're existential. For Indiana, for the WNBA, and for everyone who staked their future on her meteoric rise, the collapse is already unfolding. The timing of the announcement was almost cruel in its precision. Clark's injury news dropped on the very day football season kicked off, ensuring her absence would not only shatter the league's momentum, but bury its relevance under the NFL avalanche. Fans who held out hope, clinging to every update and speculating about her return, were blindsided. Instead of a miraculous comeback, they were handed a brutal truth. The WNBA's one true superstar is gone, and with her, the illusion of growth is gone too. Ratings are cratering, ticket sales are evaporating, and the supposed new era of women's basketball is looking more like a fragile mirage than a revolution. From the moment Clark limped off the court back in July with what the team quietly labeled a groin injury, the league was playing a dangerous game of denial. No clear timeline, no transparency, only cryptic statements designed to string fans along for as long as possible. The strategy was obvious: keep people believing she might come back so they wouldn't abandon the season. But the truth eventually surfaces, and when it did, it left scorched earth behind. Executives who spent months boasting about record-breaking attendance and unprecedented ratings are now staring at empty seats, plunging viewership, and sponsors second-guessing whether they just bought into fool's gold. And make no mistake, Clark's absence isn't just a setback. It's a death blow to the league's momentum. When she was on the floor, Indiana's games averaged 1.26 million viewers. That's the kind of audience most leagues dream of. But after her injury in mid-July, those numbers collapsed to just 400,000 viewers. That's a 70% free fall, and that was during the stretch when fans still held out hope she'd return. Now that it's official, that cliff has turned into a canyon. This isn't a dip. It's an abyss. The Indiana Fever, who had built their season around Clark's brilliance, now find themselves stripped of their engine, their leader, their reason for national relevance. Without her, they don't just lose games, they lose their identity. What was supposed to be a championship contending roster suddenly looks like a skeleton crew, a middle-of-the-pack team clawing to survive, not inspire. The Fever's playoff chances are fading. Their once electric home crowds are already showing cracks, and the energy that made every game an event has vanished overnight. But the fallout doesn't stop in Indiana. The entire league is spiraling. Imagine the playoffs without Clark. Imagine the finals. What should have been marquee broadcasts that attracted millions of casual viewers will now feel hollow, lifeless, and forgettable. The drama wasn't about who would win the championship, it was about who could beat Caitlin Clark. Without her, the story evaporates. ESPN and ABC, who already suffered a 55% ratings collapse when Clark missed time earlier this season, are staring into the black hole of an entire postseason without her. Networks built their programming around her. Sponsors signed checks expecting her. Franchises gambled their entire schedules on her presence, moving games to larger arenas just to accommodate the tidal wave of demand she created. Now all that's left is humiliation. Consider the Washington Mystics. They moved a game to Baltimore in anticipation of Clark's massive draw. When it became clear she wouldn't play, ticket prices plummeted from $41 to just $1 to get in the door. That isn't a market correction. That's a humiliation. Chicago tried to ride the Clark wave too, shifting venues and hyping matchups, but when she was out, attendance barely scratched 6,000 in an arena that holds nearly 10,000. What was billed as professional sports looked more like a quiet high school gym. This isn't growth. This is exposure. The exposure of a league that pinned everything on one player and then failed to protect her. And that's the most damning part of this story. Caitlin Clark didn't just go down because of bad luck. She went down because the league allowed her to be targeted night after night. From the moment she arrived, she was the bullseye. Elbows, hard fouls, trash talk, cheap shots. It became a full-time job for veterans who saw her as a threat rather than a savior. 17% of all flagrant fouls this season were committed against her. That's not coincidence. That's a campaign. And under the watch of Commissioner Kathy Engelbert, referees looked the other way. They let it happen. They allowed their golden goose to be hacked, battered, and bullied, prioritizing short-term ticket sales over long-term stability. And now the cost of that negligence has come due. The numbers don't lie. Without Clark, ratings nosedive. Without Clark, ticket sales collapse. Without Clark, sponsors disappear. She wasn't just the star of the WNBA, she was the WNBA. Sports economist Ryan Brewer projected her impact at nearly $1 billion in a single season, factoring in TV deals, merchandising, tourism, and cultural buzz. Jerseys sold faster than Nike could print them. NBA arenas were filled to capacity for her games. She wasn't just an athlete. She was a phenomenon, a cultural gravitational force that pulled the casual fan into women's basketball for the first time in decades. And now, she's gone. The bitter irony is that while rivals spent the season trying to knock her down, the league stood by, watching it all unfold, refusing to step in, refusing to protect their most valuable asset. And in the end, they've been left with the very nightmare they swore would never happen. A postseason stripped of relevance, a fan base shrugging and walking away, and a sports media machine that doesn't even bother covering them anymore. ESPN isn't leading with WNBA highlights. Fox Sports isn't talking about the Fever's playoff run. Outside of independent creators and small podcasts, the conversation has died. The silence is deafening, and yet Clark herself handled the announcement with grace. Her statement was short, heartfelt, and devastatingly final. "I will not be returning to play this season," she wrote. "Disappointed isn't a big enough word to describe how I'm feeling. I want to thank everyone who has had my back through all this uncertainty. This has been incredibly frustrating. But even in the bad, there is good. And the way the fans continue to show up brought me joy and perspective. One line ended the dream, and one line exposed the fragility of an entire league." The WNBA claimed it was bigger than any one player. Clark's absence just proved the opposite. Without her, it collapses right back into obscurity. The damage stretches beyond this season. Fans who planned road trips around Clark's schedule are canceling. Families who spent hundreds of dollars on tickets now feel misled. Sponsors are quietly reassessing contracts, and networks are bracing for catastrophic playoff ratings. Worst of all, there's now an off-season looming with even more uncertainty. Rumors of a lockout in 2026, mistrust of team executives who spun lie after lie about her timeline, and a growing sense that this entire season was mismanaged from the start. The Fever's front office faces scorn from fans who believe Clark was rushed back too soon, pushed onto the court before she was ready to protect ticket sales and television numbers. And now, her health has paid the price.